On April 7th of this year, an inmate at the Alvarez Glen Detention Center, Mr. Keith Bagley, overdosed on K2 spice. He was essentially dead at the jail. He was transported to a hospital where he was really pronounced dead immediately after that. The Sheriff's Department was not notified. The coroner's office was not notified. The next morning, the coroner found out through the hospital, contacted me and wanted to know what we knew about the death, and we knew absolutely nothing about the death, which, as the sheriff, I am responsible to investigate all crimes that occur at the Alvarez Glen Detention Center. The fact that he had overdosed on illegal substance is a crime, contraband into jail. He also, crime scene that would have been present, but we were not notified, which hampered our investigation. At that point, we started doing our investigation, and what we were able to determine was that this is the policy and procedures of Alvarez Glen Detention Center. And as you can see in their policy and procedures, it says that the Sheriff's Department coroner is supposed to be notified of crimes and also particularly a death that happened. This did not occur, and through our investigation, we discovered that the compliance director at Alvarez Glen, James Lipscomb, who you see here, ordered employees of the jail not to call us. He instructed them to not notify us or the coroner. This morning, he was arrested for obstruction of justice, and that he hampered our investigation, which was a criminal investigation, compromised our crime scene, and this, I can't describe why he did such a thing, but he did. So he is charged and going to be held accountable for that. As a result of the death and our subsequent investigation, the fact that we were not notified, I had a press conference, and as a result of that press conference and some interviews I did later, I brought up the fact that we had not received any cases, criminal cases from the jail in a long time. Shortly thereafter, I think on the 14th, we received 62 criminal cases, which included the sexual assault that we had been notified about on April the 4th, where a female inmate at Alvarez Glen had been sexually assaulted by a correctional officer at the jail. She had reported it to the jail authorities. They did not report it to us. When she was released, she came to the Sheriff's Department and she reported it. We have since made an arrest in that case, but we had 62 cases that went back all the way to December of 2025. Criminal cases that had not been followed up, had not been investigated, had not been turned over to us as they should have for us to do what our job was to investigate crimes. We have one investigator that is fully dedicated to investigate all the crimes at the detention center when we are notified of them. And that is a key, is that we have to be notified. After we received those 62 cases, he went to work. As a result of that, these are some of the cases that we've made. We've arrested 7 employees of Alvarez Glen Detention Center. We've arrested 17 inmates. The ones that you see right now are the employees at the Alvarez Glen Detention Center. You can see the various charges that they committed. These are crimes that we should have investigated from the very beginning. We should have been notified immediately about them. The next group you're going to see, and this is the individual that was charged with the sexual assault of the female, that we were not notified of, that the detention center knew about it, did not notify us, that she came in and reported the sexual assault to us, and we were able to make a charge on it. The next group you see disturbs me even more because these are inmates who assaulted employees at the jail. They wasn't even taking care of their own people. When a correctional officer at the jail was assaulted, they were just not reporting it to us. We've been able to go back now, and we've charged 17 of these inmates for various assaults on correctional officers. This investigation is continuing. It is not over by far. You know, the individual that died from the K2 spice in the coroner's office is the one, that's what our coroner put down as the cause of death, is the synthetic cannabinoids, which is K2 spice. That is the cause of death. He is not the first one that's overdosed on K2 spice at the jail. People are bringing phones in, people are bringing drugs in. It's a dangerous place. It's a dangerous place. My job as the sheriff is to speak for the victims, and those victims can be inmates or those victims can be the correctional officers. My job is to speak for them and make sure that those who commit crimes at Alvarez Glen Detention Center are held accountable. Questions?
Sheriff Lott, here at Rushford WIS. Quick question here is kind of a long-standing question. There's been conversations about the department coming in to oversee the jail at this point, 4 years at this point. You've also said in past situations that you would need more resources for that to happen. Is that something that you have considered discussing with county administration? Just because in typical situations, the county sheriff's office would oversee what happens at the jail.
That discussion took place some years ago, probably 3 years ago, where county council approached me about it, and I took a jail expert to the Alvarez Glen Detention Center. We went through it, made a proposal to county council on what I thought that it would cost for me to come in and take over the jail. County administrator and county council made a decision they'd go into a different direction. So they did. So that's, I made the offer and it was turned down. So they are in charge at this point and have been.
Obviously, we've seen the news of last week coming out with a new director for Alvarez Glen. Do you think that brings hope and a new leadership could maybe bring an end to these problems with that new director stepping in place that we've seen?
I hope so. I really don't think it can get any worse. So I hope so. Again, I don't have any control over what happens at Alvarez Glen except that I am responsible for investigating crimes there. Even though it is a jail facility, it's still in Richland County, and I'm still responsible for investigating crimes. So that's my part. The management and leadership of it, I have nothing to do with that whatsoever.
To your point about management and leadership, a lot of what you've shown, or the faces you've shown on screen here, have been people that work to, I guess, adhere and administer inside those walls. What does that say to you, just seeing how many names were people that work there?
I don't know their hiring process, their screening process. I don't know the quality of people that they hire. I just know that these are ones that were entrusted to go do a job in there, and they didn't do their job. No different than deputies that we hire here. When someone that wears this badge breaks the law, I hold them accountable. And I'm going to hold those accountable at Alvarez Glen Detention Center who breaks the law too. So, yeah, if somebody goes down there and breaks the law, then I'm gonna lock them up and put them in the place that where they're supposed to be doing their job and doing it the right way.
And Sheriff, did the employees give you any reasons as to why James Lipscomb didn't want to report? Did they say anything at all about it?
And that's part of our investigation. That'll come out when we go to court. I just think it's important that I stand here today and let the citizens of Richland County know what's going on. We've always believed in transparency with everything that the Sheriff's Department does, so I think it's important that the community knows this is actions that we're taking to make sure that, when people are incarcerated at the Alvin Glenn Detention Center, that at least the sheriff's going to do everything they can to protect them, hold them accountable, but also protect them. And that's those who work there and those who are committed there.
Obviously, you showed inmates in there being charged, but as Derek said, also there's management, there's officers in that you've shown as well that are being charged. Why do you think that is that we see though the people working there also being caught up in this? What do you think would be the reason for that?
I don't know. You look at some of the charges, some of it's got to do with sex, some of it's got to do with money. That's a downfall of a lot of people. And I guess the lure of those two things with some people overrode their integrity and what they should be doing on their job. Yes,
Just to
John.
clarify, the death by overdose of K2 led to the investigation that resulted in the discovery of these 60-plus other incidents?
Pretty much that's it. The sexual assault victim had came in, so we were starting to work on that. But with the death that we were not notified about, then that's when we started looking to that case. And then, again, I said something to the media because we got some good, honest people who work down there, some good, honest people who want to do the right thing. And we were notified that there had been a lot of criminal cases there that had not been referred to us. So in an interview that I did with the media, I said there's cases down there. Shortly thereafter, we received those cases. And so that's when it really started snowballing. And it continues to move forward. This is not the end.
Have the honest people down there who work as correctional officers been of help? Have they been tipping you off and telling you what to look at?
Tremendously.
Tremendous.
Again, there's good people down there who wear that uniform that are there to do the right thing, and they do not like what they've been seeing there. And so that's when we've been notified. So
Can you spell the first and last names of the man who died of the spice K2 overdose?
the one that died,
Yes, sir.
there you go.
Keith Bagley?
Yep. And again, the coroner's off. The coroner was the one who determined cause of death, and that's what she determined killing, which is what was suspected that night. There was no doubt that night that he had been using drugs, which even led to the search of his cell where he had been held. And so pretty much everybody knew what had happened. They're using K2 spice there, a lot of them do it, and that's what killed him. But we were not notified. The crime scene disappeared. A lot of evidence disappeared. That's obstruction. That's when you obstruct the job that we're supposed to be doing, and so that's why the compliance director is being charged with it today.
How high up in the chain of command is the compliance officer?
At that point, they had a interim director, I think was a major, and I think he was the same, probably equal. They were both on the same level. So he was at the top.
He was at the top level along with another equally ranking officer.
That's correct. All right, thank y'all.